week news segment. What did you guys think?
He should have known better about that spice. I warned him.
I could travel that way. Man, the orcs are going to pile up.
I know, right? So, we're going to get on to our topic today, which is hidden gem films. We all love movies here. But sometimes we love the movies that no one's really heard of. When I say, hey, have you seen May? People are like, you mean the month? I'm like, no, this movie called May. And I'm sure you've all come across things like that.
I have a list.
Yeah, she has a whole list. I had to correct her on one of hers. I want you guys to know that.
It's true. It's true. Someone read it out loud to him, and then he was able to tell me what to write down.
Yeah. So we're really fortunate because we have the director of Buzzard.
I'm super excited by this.
Buzzard is a new film that came out on video on demand yesterday, and it's a really quirky, fun movie about a geeky con man. He lives in his parents' basement type of things. He's obsessed with heavy metal and horror, and his cons start to go wrong, so he starts to get paranoid and freaked out. But the epic thing is he has a power glove that he turns into a Freddy Krueger power glove by the end of it when he's starting to run around. So it's pretty epic the way it pulls out. So we're going to bring in Joel to talk a little bit about him and his film, and then we're going to talk about all the fun, quirky films we love and his influences, because this is very much a quirky film. Mm-hmm. It is amazingly good to watch, and I've never loved someone but hated him so much since Dolores Umbridge. I'm just going to say that right now. So, hey, Joel, how are you today?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm great.
Welcome to Fanservice. We've had some fun as we're getting ready to talk about all things, but we want to talk a little bit about you and your film Buzzard first, because I don't know if you heard me giving them the description, but just by the description alone, a guy runs off with a potentially dangerous power glove. Makes you want to watch it because power gloves are just weird. See?
Yeah,
See? That is it. That's the Freddy Krueger power glove. So how often do you run around town with that thing? I just got to know, because I would never take that off.
Yeah, when we premiered it at South by Southwest last year, I wore it nonstop and even got photos with police and firemen. They loved it. I thought I was gonna cause a big publicity stunt and get arrested for it, but that didn't happen. So
Damn.
Whatever. It's just a nice, comfortable thing to wear in Michigan when the cold weather comes. That's all.
So you got to scratch something, then you all of a sudden are disemboweled. Oh, the other hand's busy doing. Yeah. So how come you didn't like two of the gloves?
Shaving my beard with it.
He's all shave. Which I'm not going to ruin what he does with it by the end, but it's a really interestingly fun movie. I told him, I haven't loved and hated a character so much since Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter. I felt bad for this dude, but I really hated him.
Is that something?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see him either way, as long as you kind of understand where he's coming from. I guess that's the only point. But I never want to make a likable character, and I never want to make a hero or a villain. I just want to make someone unique. So if you love him and hate him and feel sad for him at the same time, then my job is done here.
Yeah, I think the only one that I actually genuinely liked was his friend with the party cave. They did a lot of stupid things together, like eat bugles off of a treadmill, and they threw rocks at it. It was funny. So
yeah, that was, by the way.
How have people been taking the film Buzzard so far? Because I know it's part 2 of a 3-part animal series.
Part 3 of the 3-part animal series.
I totally missed the other 2 then, because now we have to go backwards. I thought it was part 2. I was like, well, I got to find these other ones then, so this should be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you can now watch the whole trilogy.
After it started with, they're all starring Joshua Burge, and it starts with Coyote, which is a 22-minute short film, and then Ape, which is a feature film made a couple years ago, where Josh plays a pyromaniac stand-up comic.
Wow, that sounds like us right now.
Coyote, he's a junkie who's also a werewolf. So they're all kind of unrelated, but the same actor and the same themes and everything, just severely different characters.
I would be shocked that werewolves weren't junkies. I mean, if you had to go through that physical pain of having your body ripped apart on a regular basis,
might as well be on meth.
Heroin is what I'd go for.
That's exactly what we're going for. We're like, what would it really be like to be a werewolf? And it was like, well, you'd probably just do a lot of drugs to deal with it. So that's what it is.
So this film really fits into one of those, I don't even know how to describe the genre. I call them the quirky films that people love because they're really well done, but not everyone's seen them. Mm-hmm. So as we talk more about Buzzard, we're going to start exploring kind of what was your influence to make such weird, kind of angry, kind of, it's like a social exploration type of movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not really sure if there's any direct influence as far as other films. It's just basically, it starts off about a guy who's a temp employee at a mortgage company just trying to cheat and get away with things. And, you write what you know. So I was a temp at a mortgage company for a full year, and I was in charge of ordering the office supplies and no one really knew anything else what I was supposed to do. So I got away with a lot and took a lot of long 3-hour breaks and goofed around a lot. So
did you ever duct tape anyone to a wall?
What's that?
I mean, if you've got all the office supplies anyway, did you ever like duct tape someone to a wall or just kind of go on some sort of supply rampage?
No, I take those supplies and take them back to Office Depot and get the money for them.
See, this is one of the things that I loved but hated about this guy. Like, he was so smart. I was like, why didn't I ever think about that? You know, but then it's like, well, because that's not good.
That was me. I lived that life, you know, see how much I could get away with. So I just go make a few bucks at Office Depot once a week with the supplies that I was ordering.
So that explains an awful lot because the movie was really well thought out. Now that I know you actually did it, you can make it like an autobiography film, but no one can arrest you now because I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations gone.
Yeah, it's fine. I started to name
I don't know. Yeah, what is the statute of limitation on office supplies? We should probably Google that because it'd be quite humorous. So what is your favorite movie that you don't think most people have seen but they really should see?
Without a doubt, the Beaver trilogy.
The which one?
The Beaver trilogy.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Beaver trilogy?
Oh, I thought you said Bieber, like Justin Bieber.
Oh, no.
Very confused.
No, the Beaver trilogy made by Trent Harris with Sean Penn and Crispin Glover.
Oh, I actually haven't seen that.
No, I don't
It's
think
the
we have
best.
either.
It's the best unseen film of all time. Sundance just had a documentary about the making of it this year. It was made 35 years ago or so.
That would explain why none of us have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but proclaimed film fans should probably have seen it. So yeah.
Every one of my films, the lead character is watching the Beaver trilogy on TV, so you hear it in the background.
Nice.
That's some serious love. So, Kimberly, what is your favorite film that you think no one's seen but they should?
Oh, actually, we were talking about it just before filming started. Is actually Stardust. It's very like Princess Bride.
I actually consider Stardust to be the spiritual successor to The Princess Bride.
Yeah, like for a little bit, I actually thought that it was from the same people, so I tried to look it up, and it's like, oh, actually, it's not.
No, it's the Neil Gaiman book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does amazing stuff. He totally does.
Yes.
What about you, Pocky?
The director's cut of Brazil. I think a lot of people should give a lot more love to. I know there's a lot of cinema snobs out there going, I watched it, but a lot of people haven't. And that movie, you have to watch the director's cut. Otherwise, that movie makes no sense.
I'm not going to say it makes a ton of sense if you watch the director's cut, but it's worth watching anyway. I mean, it's just visually stunning.
I do think one of the big things about these quirky movies like this is a lot of them really just don't make sense. Like Eraserhead and Donnie Darko, which completely, I don't know what happened, but my version of what happened is not exactly what they said happened.
Well, with mine, I think it does make sense. I've got a bit of a list, but I'm going to have to go, since we're talking about lighthearted, quirky ones, with Safety Not Guaranteed, which I'm a sucker for time travel movies anyway. And with Safety Not Guaranteed, yeah, I really am. But with Safety Not Guaranteed, I like the fact that right up until the very ending, they walk that line of, is he just crazy and charismatic, or is this actually happening? I kind of wish that they'd gone ahead and left it more open than that rather than having the reveal at the end. But
yeah, I wished he would have just been crazy and charismatic. I didn't like that he had built an amazing time machine. That was a bummer to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I understand why they did it since it's supposed to be a comedy and they were hoping to get a little bit more commercial success with it. But I like the films that are a little bit more open, or even if they hadn't made it clear that he was crazy, if they just left it open-ended where you have to decide at the end. But that's really my only major criticism of it. And it's another film that was made with a budget of change they found in the guy's couch.
Yeah, I think the one that I love the most that I think people should watch, and I preach to high heavens, is May. I love May. And like I said, when I talk to people about it, they're like, you mean the month? They have no idea what I'm talking about. When I get them to watch it, they love it. It's movies like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey.
May is awesome. And
Tell us about it.
it's about this woman who's kind of got this whole obsession with beauty because the way her mom raised her. So she's obsessed with these porcelain dolls, and she has no social skills, and it just degrades into craziness by the end of the film. It is just wow. And the lady that got to play May is really good and really creepy. Like, you wouldn't really want to be friends with her because you don't know what she's thinking. Which, it brings up this another point of these quirky movies is, why do you think we love them so much? I mean, they're not mainstream. Some of them don't make sense, but we just like watching them.
Well, my theory on that, honestly, is that if you have a very small budget, you have to tell a more interesting story because you can't get away with just explosions everywhere
I like
and special
explosions.
effects and things. Don't get me wrong, I love a superhero movie as much as the next person. Guardians of the Galaxy made me a very happy woman. But almost all of the ones on our list are things where they're trying to either make a social point or get something else across or just do something different with the technology. And you don't see that as much in mainstream Hollywood movies because once you have that much money piled on, you have to please your producers, you have to please the studio, there's so many people you have to please. Whereas if you're, making a budget for under $50,000, and in the case of a lot of these, under $10,000, the only person you have to please is yourself and maybe, your credit card lenders.
I also think it's a good thing about passion, too, because it's something that you honestly believe in, and then you're wanting to go and make this, versus, like what you said, you're trying to make the dollar for this, trying to please that producer.
And almost everybody's a volunteer as well with these things, and you can tell, not in a bad way that you can tell, but you can tell because they're there because they love it, not because it's like, all right, got to clock in today and make a movie.
I think a big part of it is that because they're not playing at the big corporate theaters and everything, and people haven't heard of them, it almost feels like you have discovered it, and there's a sense of ownership with it. Like no one else knows the secret. It's my personal secret. So you have this attachment to it.
We're sharing our secret, which is that you ought to watch Buzzard.
Yeah, I agree with the way you put it. It is a passion project, and our philosophy here is if it ever stops being fun, we're not doing it anymore. So I think if you're not having fun, it just becomes a job. It does show in some of these movies. I mean, as much as I like my explosions, you kind of need a little bit more to some movies. I know I will defend the Transformers franchise, so I'm blue in the face, and you guys will hate me for it. I will defend the RoboCop remake, but it was fun to watch, You could tell they were having fun doing it. But then you get to these other films, and it's kind of like, why do they even bother?
DC movies, for example. I'm sorry, DC
Don't even get me
apologizes on a
started.
regular basis. Like,
They are
I'm
not
so
bad movies.
sorry that we're making a superhero movie. We're going to do everything we can to apologize in the film for this being a superhero movie. Please, please just give us Marvel money anyway. Whereas Marvel's like, you want a raccoon? Yay! We're going to give it a gun and a tree for a best friend. Woohoo!
And our villain's going to be a giant robot. And Hulk versus Iron Man in a movie. It happens!
So, Joel, when it comes to you, what is it that you think really makes making this type of film a lot better than doing maybe a major Hollywood film? Because we've talked to a lot of directors, and they all kind of have the same vibe, and I'd like to hear what your take on it is.
Oh yeah, I mean that's easy. If you have a studio behind you, they're telling you what you can and can't do. But if you're just making it with your friends on your own in your hometown, you can pretty much do whatever and get away with anything. I mean, we don't need permits. We don't need to close down streets. We don't need.
We're going to guerrilla film make this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we just shoot it wherever we want with just our friends, and no one's saying, nope, you need to sign those papers first. You need to go through the union. So it's just freedom. It's not like we're doing construction work. It's like we're building a little shack out in the woods or something,
And I feel like a lot of times with these things, the sets that you end up with are so much more interesting than your traditional, okay, someone in Hollywood built it. I'm trying to remember if it was The Machine or, I'm blanking on the name of the movie, but there was a recent one where it was all just shot in a warehouse because they had 1 week to get it done. They could rent the warehouse right then. And it turned out to be a surprisingly watchable science fiction movie that was all just blank corridors. They really made the space one of the characters of the movie because that's what they had. They're like, okay, fine. It is anonymous. It is industrial. It is soulless. We're going to work that. And if you have something like that, like especially where you live, you've got so much character from like the older architecture up there, things along those lines, that I think that you can do some interesting things that you wouldn't see with Hollywood.
Yeah, we just like to use real locations so everything feels real. So once you set up a very realistic world, and then you introduce a power glove modified with Freddy Krueger blades, suddenly it takes the audience by surprise and it goes against what they're expecting.
So if, let's say, Hollywood came to you and said, we really want you to make this movie, would you ever consider actually going into the Hollywood machine?
Sure, I'd try and change the way they're doing it. If they wanted me to do it the next Transformers, I'd probably make it a stop animation with the toys or something.
People have little GoBot toys, right? These aren't series accurate, but they're going to be in here anyways.
See, I feel like that's actually what happened to Neil Blomkamp, where his first movie, which was, I mean, it's not indie the way yours is indie, but it wasn't Hollywood still, was a lot of fun. And his next two, not as fantastic.
They just threw a bunch of money at him and were like, here.
And I think he got too much money too fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things about Chat yet, but I'll still check it out.
I'm going to see it too. I hope for the best, and now that I have very low expectations, I'll probably enjoy it more.
Very, very low expectations.
Low expectations are the key to really enjoying bad movies. I was able to watch Underworld because I heard it was terrible.
I liked Underworld, though. Underworld was really, really good.
That's one of my favorite franchises, honestly.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it is.
yeah.
Except
I like
I-
vampires. I love werewolves and
I didn't
tight
really
clothes.
like
It all
the
kind of got it
prequel
on.
though, because you already. My problem with prequels is you know exactly what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's no point to watching it.
Which is why Star Trek Enterprise should have never been made.
Oh Lord. So Pocky, what are your thoughts on some of these little movies and why you like them?
I like pie. Wait,
You like pie?
I
However,
like-
we don't have
so,
pie today.
I like the small movies because I feel like a lot of the filmmakers, they're like, we're going to do this with all of our heart. We don't care if it goes up or down. We made it. I mean, I've seen a lot of like small guys make movies just for the sake of making them, and then if they get successful, it's good. But to them, it's all like, well, that happened. And to me, it's like versus like we're a big studio. They have to look at that opening box office weekend right then and there. It's like, can we get, Avengers 2 to make $500 million opening weekend?
Yeah. I would honestly throw in as well, like Primer is a great example of this. You can tell a much more in-depth story in an indie movie because you know the audiences are willing to actually put down their computers or their phones or whatever and watch it. You just get a more intelligent audience in general with people that are watching indie movies. And so you don't have to dumb things down for them. You can tell something, and you can, because of video on demand and because the way that you watch, most people are watching these movies at home on their TV instead of in a theater. You know that some people, especially with Primer, they're going to watch it 2 or 3 times. They'll get more out of it on rewatching, and so you can just do more.
Well, here's the
I'm
other
curious
side.
if you guys liked his follow. Do you guys like his follow? Shane,
I did
his follow?
like the what is it? Blue color, warm color.
I haven't actually seen
Color.
it.
Yeah, it was really good, but it was bordering on one of those points of the other side of loving these quirky movies is some of them just really don't make sense. Like Escape from Tomorrow, which was the one that they guerrilla filmed at Disneyland, didn't really make much sense. It was really fun to watch, but at the end you're like, what did I just watch? And the Warmest Color film was really good, but then you're kind of thinking, you're overthinking it because of the first movie. So some
Are you
movies...
talking about? Are you talking about Upstream Color or Blue is the
Sorry,
warmest color?
Upstream Color. I couldn't remember the exact name. Upstream
Because
Color.
there's also Blue is the Warmest Color, the lesbian movie.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about that one.
One of these movies is ever so slightly different from the other.
So it's because I went in with how amazing Primer was. I was expecting much, trying to read too much into Upstream Color. So I think for me it failed, but I liked it. But a lot of these movies they're just weird just for the sake of being weird.
Well, I think
I was gonna say it's like indie music, or it's like anything indie, like indie games, indie music, indie publishing. It's some people think they are the next Anderson, they're the next Gaiman, they're the next Gillian, whatever.
they're the next
Miller.
kitchen overlord.
Yeah, the next kitchen overlord. And it's like they think they've had their friends and their family tell them how good they are because they're either trying to be nice or they're also that pretentious. And when they finally go out there and they hand everyone their stuff, they're like, aren't I brilliant? And everyone goes, you're a special snowflake, I'll tell you that. And that's where I think a lot of it comes from is because of the internet and whatnot, we now in an era where your friends told you how good you are, but now 150,000 people just told you, what did I just watch and why? I want my 5 minutes back.
All right, so we're out of time for the topic, and I really enjoyed the fact that Joel came on to talk things, and I get his movie more than I've talked to him. And
Now-
he's exactly like us, though. It's kind of funny.
Now, before we go, we should make sure that people know when and where
Yes.
and how they can watch Buzzard.
So tell
Well,
everyone where they can watch Buzzard.
It's playing in theaters across the country as of yesterday, and you can watch it streaming on VOD, iTunes, Amazon. But I think the more interesting thing for your audience is to go check out our Kickstarter because we are building a video game based on the movie right now.
Oh, tell us about that.
It's all 8-bit video game, and you're doing things like trying to cook a frozen pizza and put ranch dressing on top of it.
Oh,
And you're
which,
trying-
by the way, I almost made one of those for you guys to eat. He makes
yeah.
those
Let him
pizzas
finish his
sometimes.
thing about his movie. So, okay, 8-bit retro game. Go on.
Yeah, so it's just gonna mess with people's expectations, I think, of what an indie game can be, and take the idea of the movie in a further direction because the characters are basically living out of old video games in their basement. So we're
And
gonna
what
put
is the
them
name
in
of the
their
Kickstarter
literal
campaign
video
so
game.
people can look it up?
Yeah,
What's the
So,
name of the Kickstarter campaign so people can look it up?
awesome. Yeah, and then check out the movie and everybody let me know what they think, if they hate it or they love it.
I liked it, but Chris Rose was wondering, what is the name of the Kickstarter campaign so people will know what to go look for?
Oh, what is the name of it? I'm sorry. I thought you were saying the link to, I don't know, Buzzard the video game.
So just not to be confused, it's not like Buzzards flying through the air like Joust. It's going to be an actual, we're going to hack things up with our magic glove hand.
We made a poster that says Buzzard instead of Joust, but kept all the original artwork, so similar to that. So yeah, Buzzard the video game, that's all.
All right, so there'll be a link you guys can follow online. And thank you, Joel, for coming on Fan Service and talking about Buzzard and crazy fun movies and your whole process of making movies. Now I got to go watch the other two because I really want to watch the werewolf one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds way too interesting. So thanks for being on Fan Service, and whatever you have in the future, maybe we'll see you again.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you. So, Quirky movies. If you get a chance to watch Buzzard, you really should watch Buzzard.
Yes.
It is absolutely amazingly
I really
fun.
do want to look up the werewolf one. I mean, like Bitten and some other things. Well, especially the Netflix series does do the whole like it's painful to be a werewolf and whatnot. But a lot of places don't explore. Like you get over the pain very quickly. You'll see them going, my transformation's awful, and then apparently endorphins kick in and they're fine. I would love to see someone's like, oh crap, it's the new moon. Need a little heroin.
Well, you went with heroin. I went with meth.
Well,
What
that's
would your
because you're
drug
more
of
of a
choice be?
hick.
I would go with pot because it is a natural sedative. So.
Pot.
They've actually liquidized crystal meth apparently, so
Oh,
that's easier to transport.
see?